trainer Dave Coldwell says that his fighter, David Price, is confident that he can knock out Anthony Joshua. Now, I've done several videos over the years on this channel about rumors and about information which has been passed to me in confidence about sparring stories and all types of stuff behind the scenes. And as I said in a recent video about another rumor which I'd heard, most of this information which I've received behind the scenes, confidentially, most of these rumors have actually turned out to be true. And the most recent example of it was the rumor which I reported on my channel last year. In the early part of last year, I reported a rumor which I've been told in confidence behind the scenes about Dillian Whyte getting dropped in sparring by Derek Chisora. And we now know this rumor to be true because Dillian Whyte has since come out and admitted that it did actually happen. This was a long time before he faced Anthony Joshua in the early part of 2015. Now, another rumor, which I've been told by several different people, okay, and even Dave Allen, for example, who's a British heavyweight contender, even he's come out in interviews, and this is a man who's sparred a lot with Anthony Joshua. Even he's coming out in interviews and also made this claim. But the rumor is, as I've mentioned before on this channel, that David Price knocked out, or at least dropped, Anthony Joshua in sparring. It occurred apparently when Joshua was still an amateur, quite a while before he fought in the Olympics. So it wasn't the Anthony Joshua we know today. And obviously David Price was a professional at the time. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if this is actually true. You're talking about two huge men. David Price hits as hard as just about anybody out there. If he connects on the chin of most fighters, he's going to be able to hurt them or knock them out. So him landing a shot on Joshua and dropping him or knocking him out, I think I'm 99% sure it's actually true. Does that mean that he would beat Joshua in a professional boxing ring though? Not so sure about that. Joshua certainly seems to be the more talented man. Seems to have better reflexes. Is faster. Seems to have better fighting instincts than David Price. But perhaps David Price has got the style to be able to trouble Anthony Joshua. He's certainly got the power there, we know that. But who's going to land first? Would it be Joshua or would it be David Price? This is obviously a fight that David Price and his team, Sauerland, and his trainer, Dave Coldwell, are trying to push for. They want David Price to get that shot against Anthony Joshua. He is ranked in the IBF top 15, so he is eligible for a voluntary shot at Anthony Joshua if Anthony Joshua chooses him as an opponent. However, to make it financially viable for Joshua and his team, like his promoter Eddie Hearn, to make it a risk worth taking in their eyes, because as I say, David Price can punch. Price would need to get a few decent wins under his belt to make Team Joshua want to actually take that fight, in my opinion. And one fight I personally would like to see David Price in is a fight against Robert Helenius. He's in a similar position to David Price right now. He's suffered a devastating knockout defeat to Johan Dupar. That's how I pronounce Dupar's name. You know, sue me. He's coming off a devastating KO defeat to him. Price is coming off that defeat to Erkan Tepa, which was, over a year ago now. He's had one fight since against low-level opposition. So they're in a similar position in their careers. It would be a crossroads fight. I would love to see David Price versus Robert Helenius. They did fight as amateurs, and Helenius did beat David Price in the amateurs. Look it up. Helenius is 6'6". He can really bang. David Price is 6'8". He can bang too. I think Helenius may have a slightly better chin than David Price, but David Price may have the better boxing skills. I think it's a fascinating fight, and I think that is the fight as a boxing fan I would like to see next for both of them. I like crossroads fights. And crossroads fights often produce fireworks. We saw a crossroads fight in the welterweight division a few months back when Andre Berto and Victor Ortiz had their rematch. And it was a wild fight. It was nearly as wild as their first fight, although it only lasted a couple of rounds. The first fight went the distance. What would happen between David Price and Robert Helenius? Who would win that fight, in your opinion? How would that fight go? It really would be a case of who lands first. Robert Helenius, as much as people criticize him, he can really punch. Don't get that confused at all. That guy can really punch. And either way, it wouldn't take that much, would it, to hurt David Price? I'm more than sure that Robert Helenius hits at least as hard, if not harder, than Tony Thompson. He may even hit as hard as Erkan Tepa. So, yeah, that's a fight I would like to see David Price in. Also, let me know what you think about David Price versus Anthony Joshua. Do you think he would be any threat to Joshua at all? Do you think he maybe has some type of style there which can give Joshua issues? Or do you think Joshua would just be too fast and athletic, and in a situation of who lands first, you're 99% sure or confident that it will be Joshua landing first and David Price hitting the mat? Let me know how you feel in the comment section below. And if David Price don't fight Helenius, which he probably won't, he's probably looking at different opponents, who do you think would be a good opponent for David Price in terms of continuing his comeback and his rehabilitation? And also, who do you think would be an opponent that would raise David Price's stock if he were to beat him? A decent opponent who Price may be capable of beating and put himself in a better position to challenge Anthony Joshua, that would make more of a case in the eyes of the British public that he's a viable challenger for the IBF heavyweight title. Drop all your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel, people. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.